So my hair kind of clashes with the green screen sometimes. I mean, look at it. So I'm gonna be wearing this hat, but also because the Dodgers won, baby! Thank you, Ohtani-san. $700 million, worth every penny. Hero shooters. You love them, I love them. My entire career was off the backs of Overwatch and Apex Legends. You know that I really enjoy hero shooters. I think they're one of the best genres out there. It allows for some incredible creativity when it comes to the design of these characters. You can have a grappling robot or a space gorilla, and it somehow works very well. So today, I want to go over every single hero shooter that I have ever played and discuss which character is the best designed in their game and why. Obviously, this is going to be my opinion, but I will be basing it on how cool they look, but also how their design matches their gameplay, because I think that's very important. So, without further ado, let's start this video, starting with the game that started my entire channel. Overwatch has a ton of really awesome and very unique character designs. Some honorable mentions have to go to Cassidy. I think making a robotic cybernetic cowboy was a genius way to include a revolver mechanic in a game. And of course, shout out Winston. You would think that a talking huge monkey would like ruin the immersion of this game, but it doesn't, because Winston is just that well designed. And my last honorable mention will have to go to the poster child Tracer. I think Tracer's entire design really makes it clear what she's trying to do. She zips and zooms, and she's British. And while these are all great character designs, I think the crowning jewel of Overwatch has got to be Genji. And I know it's a little bit basic. Oh, you like the cyborg ninja? Yes, I love the cyborg ninja. They absolutely cooked with this design. The cybernetics look very cool, while actually seeming like practical cybernetics that somebody like Genji would need, because, you know, he was like cut in half. His entire backstory with Hanzo is one of the most iconic, and to this day, I think the most viewed video Overwatch has ever produced, the dragons. And his gameplay was and still is very unique to most hero shooters. You have a character whose entire projectiles is just a bunch of shurikens and whose ultimate is literally a sword, and he's great. I do think his Overwatch 2 redesign is a little bit of a downgrade, but overall, Genji really is the peak of Overwatch character design. And while they have cooked some characters that are really good since, they have never really reached that high of Genji. So Apex Legends has a ton of really well-designed characters. But first, some honorable mentions. Mirage's entire design really screams, I make clones. He's funny, or at least he thinks he is. But you have to take him seriously because that is still a really advanced outfit that he's wearing. Then of course I gotta give major kudos to Pathfinder. Apex Legends is the unofficial spiritual successor to Titanfall, kind of, so they did have to include some grapple character in there, and I think Pathfinder toes that line very well. His entire kit revolves around grappling and ziplining, and it makes a ton of sense. While his actual character design is so simple, like a kid could draw him, which is great, but also very unique because they chose to make this robot super friendly and kind of doesn't get sarcasm and doesn't get anything really. He's a stupid robot, but we all love him. But the one legend that I think stands above all others has got to be Bloodhound. Bloodhound's entire kit revolves around being a tracker. They can see trails of enemies and footprints. But on top of that, their entire background is that they're full-on Vikings, like space Vikings. So Bloodhound has this very over-the-top, thick accent that just elevates the mystery behind Bloodhound. Sure, scanning in Apex Legends is a very controversial thing. They have nerfed all the scan legends multiple times, and they even nerfed it so Bloodhound can't see through smokes anymore with their ultimate. But just because they nerfed Bloodhound, it doesn't mean that the actual gameplay design isn't great. It is. It's just broken. But from a character design perspective, I just think the entire outfit is awesome. With the backstory being that their face is completely disfigured, that's why they have to always wear a mask to help them breathe. But I think a very underrated element about Bloodhound's design is the fact that they're non-binary. And at the time, before Twitter became this cesspool and there are people like this dipshit running around claiming to play video games and just being a total asshole, very few people were upset that Bloodhound was non-binary. And I think Apex Legends did a really good job at establishing this really early on and keeping Bloodhound super ambiguous by covering their face, by making them seem a little bit more masculine presenting, but also having a female voice actor, really just confusing the bigots out there. And what that did was actually just make a non-binary character who was extremely popular amongst everybody. If Bloodhound were released today, do I think Bloodhound would receive a ton of hate? Probably, because the world has gotten a little bit worse. But I can't deny that Apex Legends did a really good job at introducing the world to a non-binary character in a way that was so smooth. So thank you, Apex. Honestly, it's a big deal. Designing unique Valorant characters can be really challenging because they all have to be the same height, but somehow feel distinct and different. Some honorable mentions of some of the better designed characters have got to be Raze. I think it's just so funny to have somebody with headphones on that can't hear anything going on be the explosive expert, and I love that the explosives are all paint related. I think incorporating her graffiti background with her explosives is a very nice touch. The other honorable mention I want to give is Sova. In a game full of guns, he somehow makes a bow and arrow work and makes sense, making him this full-on scan type character that doesn't feel like another bow character like Hanzo, but they did just copy Legolas. Like, that's Legolas. And his ultimate just feels like crazy compared to any other ultimate in other games. But I do think the best designed agent in Valorant has got to be Cypher. Give me a corpse. Give me a corpse. He feels like a secret agent hacker type character. He's so mysterious, but he also clearly knows too much. He definitely knows your social security number, so don't say anything mean about him in the comments. And I know it's such a small thing, but in a game where everybody is the same height, having a really wide-brimmed hat really makes you stand out. It is so clear that I'm fighting a Cypher whenever I'm playing the game. I can't tell the difference between some of these characters, but Cypher is so clearly Cypher. I love his accent, I love his color scheme, I love his mysterious background behind him, and his entire moveset makes sense with the character's design. It's so clear that he's all about traps and knowing things. I bet he even knows where your dad is all these years. He'll come home from the grocery store, I promise. I bet you weren't expecting me to talk about Team Fortress 2, but here I am. This is truly the OG hero shooter of all time. Every single character in Team Fortress 2 has been reiterated in Overwatch or other games ever since, so they all deserve honorable mentions. However, the one character that I feel like changed the way that people design characters fully has got to be the medic. The medic is the quintessential support character. Almost every support character in every single game that has support characters takes some design elements from the medic. The medic is simple. He's wearing a doctor's outfit and has a healing beam. A healing beam that exists in so many other games. You got Mercy, you got the Finals, you got a bunch of things that just have this beam that heals people. It seems so simple now, but it really was the original concept back in the day. On top of that, his characterization is so fun. He's like really crazy, which makes you question if he's even a good doctor. I don't think he is. And the fact that his melee weapon is a bone saw of all things, look, all I'm saying is I wouldn't want to be sick in the Team Fortress 2 universe. Speaking of Valve, let's talk about their most recent hero shooter, Deadlock. I understand that Deadlock is technically in its early access alpha, so a lot of these designs may not be the final designs when the game finally comes out. I'm looking at you, Yamato, with this weird-ass cone head. However, some of these designs really cooked. Some honorable mentions have to go to Charlie Slimesicle and Paradox. I think Paradox in particular looks so crazy, but if I had to choose one of these characters that stands out above all the rest, it would have to be Seven. Seven is a character that's all about shocking the opponent. And normally when you include shocks or stuns in a game, it would be very annoying to deal with and probably a character that everybody would hate. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely people that don't like Seven, but in this game it actually makes sense and works and doesn't feel super duper annoying to get stunned by Seven. His design though is crazy. He's designed after an inmate that potentially got the electrical chair. Look at that, he has chains on his arms. It's wild. Like, that's a choice. So his entire core identity is surrounded by electricity, including my favorite thing about his kit, his ultimate. This ultimate covers a huge area of effect that can kill anybody within line of sight. And they could have done this in a way where he just kind of like stands still and just like shocks everybody like a Marvel god. But instead, he does it in a way where he's not really fully in control of his electrical powers. So while he's shocking everybody, he's like kind of dying too. He's fully getting shocked. You can see his skeletal structure. I don't know about you, but I think Valve super duper cooked with this design. And while I do hope they do fix a couple of the other character designs in Deadlock, I think Seven is pretty close to perfect as is. Do something about Yamato's forehead, please! Ah, Rogue Company. This game, I'm just gonna skip to the character that matters. It's Glitch. I think Glitch is the only character that really stood out the moment that this game came out. All the other characters look so generic. And it's partially why the game didn't really succeed, because you couldn't really attach yourself to some of these more basic looking characters. But not Glitch. Glitch is just cool. The mask being robotic and ever-changing, giving him this kind of modern Rorschach effect is great. He's just a simple hacker dude, and you can totally tell that behind the mask, probably a nerd. I like the way that the mask changes his voice. I like that outside of the mask, his entire outfit is just like casual wear. Like literally, this is him. Just like, that's it. And while Rogue Company in general is not really like doing too hot right now, I do have to give them credit where credit is due and tell them that Glitch was a good design. Frag Punk just came out, and some of the characters are pretty decently designed. And while some of you may think that I think the best character design is Axon, I disagree. I just personally think Axon looks cool because he looks like Octane. Let's be honest, he's just Octane. The actual best design in Frag Punk has got to go to Kismet. Kismet just looks so cool. She got the drippy sunglasses, she does the freaking Naruto hand signal things, full-on futuristic jujitsu master. And you get a lot of her characterization even when playing her in first person, which I think is sometimes very difficult to do in first-person shooters. Her kit revolves around teleporting and flashing, and both of these things just kind of feel more cohesive than a lot of the other Frag Punk characters. Sometimes the Frag Punk characters feel like they're doing too much, but Kismet feels like she's doing just the right amount of things. And while a lot of the other Frag Punk characters are very derivative of other characters, I mean, Zephyr is literally a Wraith knockoff. I think Kismet feels wholly original and is really cool. Marvel Rivals is going to be coming out in December, but at this point, every single character that has been released is going to most likely play exactly as they're designed. So let's talk about some honorable mentions. Somehow they made Spider-Man work in a hero shooter. Thankfully, Marvel Rivals is more melee-oriented than most games, but Spider-Man genuinely feels like Spider-Man in this game. I thought that'd be impossible to pull off, but they did it. Another honorable mention would have to go to Doctor Strange. Sure, you can write off Doctor Strange as a Reinhardt knockoff, but I think they did a really good job at incorporating all the famous things you know Doctor Strange about from the movies into his kit. The full-on time stopping, the teleporting, it's a really well-constructed kit. But the actual best designed character in Marvel Rivals, in my opinion, would have to go to Rocket Raccoon. Let me explain. I think one of the most difficult things to create in hero shooters is a fun healer experience. The support experience generally feels worse than playing as a tank or as a damage character. When you play support, you're getting dived on, you're getting destroyed, you're getting dunked on, and while Overwatch has fixed this by making some of these support characters super broken, critical, Marvel Rivals has taken a different approach to the support mechanics. A lot of the supports in this game can really defend themselves, and Rocket Raccoon in particular is such a huge damage dealer on top of being a solid support. His entire kit is built around defense and offense. He also has a jetpack to help him escape from being dived on by venoms and stuff, so he just feels like a genuinely fun and new take on a support character. And if you can successfully design a character that is fun to play as a support, your game has a higher likelihood of succeeding, because if nobody wants to play support, the game's gonna be rough. Also, I love in this game that Rocket Raccoon can be paired with Groot. It feels very reminiscent of both the comics and the movies. This game just oozes with so much design creativity, and I'm genuinely excited for its official release. Please forgive me, I have barely played any Paladins, but I know that there's gonna be people in the comments like, oh, bro, forgot about Paladins. What about Paladins? An honorable mention has to go to McCreeper. I only know him as McCreeper because he's like a combination of Reaper and McCree, but I genuinely really enjoyed playing him. But the actual best design character has to go to Bomb King. The Bomb King is so dope. A tanky Grenadier type character doesn't really exist in a lot of these games. And then making him royalty? That's a bold choice, Paladins. But a vast majority of the early Paladins characters that I remember were very derivative of Overwatch characters. And before you come in the comments and say, technically Paladins was already in development before Overwatch, come on, let's not do this. Let's not do this, please. Okay, let's talk about Concord. As you know, I made a sponsored video on Concord, which I recently unlisted. It was never a review, it was just a first look at Concord. My reviews are under the title for noobs. Or if they do desperately want me to make a review on the game, they have to let me give my full opinion. Most companies are not okay with that, so they don't sponsor the for noobs, and that's fine with me. However, a first look is different. That's just me playing the game the first time. People in the comments thought I was being really fake. I wasn't. Was the game insanely groundbreaking? No. Was the game absolute dog shit? Also, no. It wasn't that bad. People make it seem like it's the worst game of all time. Did it have a ton of issues? Yes. So before you call me some shill, I never said anything dishonest in that video. I had a good time playing the game, and then I moved on. So now let's talk about the best designed character in that game. And it's a little bit tough because a lot of these character designs are not that great. However, one character immediately stood out, and it's One-Off. One-Off is a full-on trash can design. And before you think, oh, that's like kind of stupid, it actually makes sense. This guy is essentially a humongous robotic vacuum cleaner. And that was showcased in his kit throughout. I actually thought this entire design was very cohesive, and the gameplay was really unique and suited his character. And he got a little chuckle out of me. I didn't hate him. So while it's very easy to bag on Concord, you can't deny that, you know, this is honestly a good design. So those are, in my opinion, the best designed characters in every hero shooter that I've ever played. But please let me know in the comments down below who you think is the best designed character in your favorite hero shooter. Or let me know if you agree with me on these picks. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you would like for me to do a sequel to this and talk about the worst designed characters in every single one of these games. Because I think it could be fun, and I think it's a little bit harder to choose bad designs. I know these devs worked hard on these designs, but yeah, there are some stinkers. Let me know in the comments if you'd like that. But with that, I'll catch you later. I'm not actually going to drop the mic. It's expensive. Pretend it dropped.